Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming in. You are here to listen to Jen and Callie talk about bridging the gap between game studios and higher education. We're going to do this. You can clap. We're going to do this a little bit differently than our other talks. They're going to have a little bit of a conversation, and then they'll be taking questions from all of you and answering them. But first of all, a little bit of an introduction if you don't know who these two ladies are. Jen Hinton. Jen Hinton is an educator whose career at RIT took an unexpected turn in 2007 when she said yes to an opportunity that others said no to, thus launching her career into the games industry. The opportunity? Academic advisor to the newly created Game Design and Development Program. Today, Jen serves as the Chief of Staff and Director of Games Industry Relations at RIT's Magic Spell Studios. You can be involved. You can get excited. Jen's awesome. As Magic's Director of Games Industry Relations, Jen is responsible for the leadership and development of the university's relationship with the games industry, which includes strategic direction for RIT's Digital Game Hub, a New York State designated center of excellence. Jen is passionate about helping students break into the games industry and has volunteered as a mentor with Women in Games International, as well as the Strong Museum of Play's Women in Games initiative, where she was recognized at the 2022 celebration event. If you've ever been to the Strong Museum of Play's Women in Games initiative, it's amazing. I suggest you do it. Jen is a founding member of the Digital Games Industry Association of Rochester. She's currently working with universities, game studio leadership, and other community organizations to expand DGIA's reach across upstate New York. Jen's first credited game title was 2016's Hack, Slash, and Backstab, which is an amazing title, which was published on Xbox One, making RIT the first university in the country to publish on this platform. Jen recently supported Magic's latest title, That Damn Goat. I think we have stickers. You all got stickers in your swag bags. Most notably by managing the Nintendo Switch certification process and voicing the soccer mom character. I did not know that. And I had to write an intro for Callie, so I have like 5 things here. So Callie Browning, many of you might already know who she is because she's kind of, she has been the face of Wolfjaw for a lot of recruiting fairs and career fairs and a lot of events, as well as community events. Callie and I go way back, before Wolfjaw, actually. She recruited for titles like Call of Duty, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Diablo 2, Diablo 4, World of Warcraft, basically all the Activision Blizzard King titles while we were at Vicarious Visions together. Since coming over as a recruiter to Wolfjaw, she not only helped our studio triple in size, she has worked tirelessly to build and cultivate our relationships with colleges and universities and their students. She shares Jen's passion for helping students get into the games industry and mentoring them. As our Director of Community Engagement, she has, well, look around. This, Wolfjam, as well as leading the team in building our relationships with the community, with various colleges and universities and community organizations dedicated to gaming. Since I've known her, she has been a staunch advocate for students, candidates, and industry workers who are from marginalized and underrepresented backgrounds. She has huge plans for the future of Wolfjaw and the future of Wolfjam. That includes expanded internships for college students, expanded training programs for junior developers trying to get into the games industry, and Wolfjam, so Northeast GDC, anybody coming up? Maybe, one day, hopefully, yes? I lost my place. So, Callie is she's the always chaotic, usually good paladin of Wolfjaw. She's got the +20 charisma to be the face of Wolfjaw and represent us and build our relationships in the community and with students. And she has the moral compass to always insist that we do the right thing. So I will hand it over to them. Thank you very much. Take it away. Also, if you have a question for people watching, can you put it in the Discord? Because I don't know how to access any of the other places we take questions. And if you have a question in here, go ahead, raise your hand. I'll come to you with the mic. Let's go.
Well, welcome everybody. I want to thank you all again for being here. It is just so amazing that so many people came out to support us for this event. Again, Jen and I have also gone way back. It's at least 6, 7 years at this point. The partnerships that we've helped create with RIT through my time when I was at VV and now here at Wolfjaw. And it's been really cool to see just the amazing talent that can come out of these colleges that we want to accept and to have be our future coworkers in the games industry. And it's been really empowering to see how colleges and studios like ourselves can work closer together into doing this.
Thanks, Callie. And I hope you all picked up on it. You know, when Jamie was reading our bios, they sounded pretty similar, didn't they? I think that probably is the secret sauce, and that's part of the reason that we've had the relationship that we have for all these years. So before we get things officially started, just a couple quick notes from me. First, to all the jammers that are here, thank you. You probably need a break from your screen, so I hope this is time well spent. With the jammers specifically, raise your hand if this is your first game jam. Awesome, so there's a few of you, so really, really excited to see that. That probably is one of the tips and tricks and strategies that we're gonna talk about, so you're already doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you didn't raise your hand, that means you're a returning jammer, whether it's for this event or others, so we absolutely love to see that. I'm really happy we're doing this panel. If for no other reason, Callie finally has a chance to sit down. She's been running around like crazy, so just really excited to be here. I thought maybe, do you want to kick off, like if there's questions from the audience? And we'd love to hear what you would like to know about. We'll kind of fill in some of those blanks. But what questions do you have? We've got a microphone, we've got the Discord. What do you want to know?
Don't everybody talk at once.
Hi, thank you both for coming and sharing your wisdom. Universities with game development programs feel like a very new, still developing thing. If someone is at a university that does not have that as a sort of official trajectory, you know, as a degree, as a, what advice do you have for them for both studying it in a sort of formal context and also finding their way into the games industry?
So one of the things that I have seen, especially as we begin to start going to colleges that do not have formalized game programs or maybe are only in concentrations or minors at the moment, is creating clubs. Finding the people at your college that want to do the same thing. Sometimes it's as simple as my college had a Facebook group for the class of 2017. As soon as we joined, they shoved all the freshmen into a Facebook group and said, hey, meet your new classmates and all this kind of stuff. And then people were like, hey, anybody here play League of Legends? Anybody here looking to do this? Anyone here looking to do that? That's how you can find your community, and that's honestly how it started. I have been, I say, unofficially in games for 10 years because I got my background in creating the Champlain College esports program at my college. It was just a tiny little League of Legends club. We had a lot of people that were interested in wanting to do esports and wanting to actually make it competitive. So it was a fully student-run initiative, and now they are one of the more decorated programs in the Northeast right now in several different esports, and that was purely because of student initiatives. They now have their own PC bang and practice space, and they have a esports director, and this kind of goes the same with even just game development or programming or anything like that, is a lot of times it has to start with the students, and it has to start with someone saying, hey, we want this, and that's how the colleges then start to notice and want to get involved.
So in addition to student clubs, I would encourage you to look off campus as well to community organizations, jams, other events, festivals. I think there's a lot of opportunities and there's some similarities. The other thing I would call attention to is perhaps other degree programs. So the games industry is more than just people who write code and art the art. So there are lawyers, there are human resources, there are IT folks, there are marketing folks. So there are opportunities to be involved in the industry and have a career, even if you're not directly pursuing a degree in game design and development. So if you're passionate about the industry, but have other skill sets, there is likely a place for you as well.
I have to ask, Jen, what is your background in education? Because I have a degree in international business. I did not go to college for games. I went to a college for gamers, but I did not go for games. And I'm here.
My degrees are in history and education. A lot of people that I know who are in the industry and who are in leadership roles in particular, they don't have degrees in game design and development. I started at RIT in 2007. That's when the degree program in game design and development started. And to CJ's point, even though that is now one of the older programs in the country, this is still a young degree program and medium. So there are people who've worked in the industry for many, many years who don't have that degree. They have other degrees in film and animation, computer science, software engineering, or again, those adjacent, majors, depending on what their role is. So the degree program itself is still new. At the end of the day, and I always have to be very, very careful, and I'm very conscious of the fact that, we're on a live stream. At the end of the day, when you graduate from college, no one cares what your degree program was. They care about what your skills are, what can you do, because the title of your degree does not necessarily dictate that. They care about the skills that you have, and are you a good human being? Those are the two things that are most important. If your skill set matches, again, personality, you've heard a lot of different talks. People want to work with good people. That doesn't necessarily mean like-minded people, but people who have good communication skills, good teamwork, group dynamics. Those things are really, really important. Fit and culture, those are things that cannot necessarily be taught. So the degree program itself is less important than the skill set, and then perhaps how you demonstrate that skill set through portfolio, interview, code test, etc.
Thank you. So we're going to make sure that if you have a question to ask them, you introduce yourself and say your name and where you're from so that we can know who you are.
Like, where we from?
Your name, where you from?
Hi, my name is Naquan. I go from in Brooklyn. And my question is, what inspired y'all to get into the gaming community?
So mine is a very funny story that ties back to the esports. So my brother is the one who is actually running our entire live stream right now, and so he can attest to this. I remember him playing League of Legends back before I went to before I went to college. And I used to hate him for playing it because he used to throttle our internet, and I couldn't play my Neopets, and I couldn't watch my YouTube videos. Flash forward to me going to Champlain, January of 2014. I met a group of friends who all they wanted to do was play League of Legends, and I got sucked into it as well. Later that year, that's when I started joining the Champlain League Gaming Club. I started meeting the people around that, and I started just kind of actually being a part of a gaming community, because previously it kind of just been me and my brothers playing, and then a little bit of some online stuff. That year, the 2014 League of Legends World Championships, this was the first year that they ever had a world song. They had a huge opening ceremony in South Korea. If I remember, it was Starhorn Royal Club versus Samsung White. And Imagine Dragons did the first song, Warriors. And for those that know me, I am a big Imagine Dragons fan. I know that is the equivalent of saying you're a Nickelback fan, but I love them. I saw them in the Mohegan Sun Casino and I cried. And sitting there in my college campus's fireside lounge at 2 in the morning, trying to order Domino's pizzas, watching my favorite band perform a song for one of my favorite games, and watching all my friends around me just getting a kick out of like how excited this was making me. That was what made me realize that there's a community here. There's really cool stuff happening. I didn't need to be somebody that was coding the game or making the art. I could just be a player. I could just be a part of that community. And that's sort of what radicalized me and wanting to be someone that helped make those communities and make those spaces where others could feel welcome.
I love that question. I feel I learned a lot about Callie in that answer. So when asked this question, my first response is typically this. There are two types of people in the games industry. There are people who wanted to go into the games industry, and many of them are in the room. And then there are people who found themselves there, and they weren't expecting to be there. I think we are two of those people. It was shared in my intro. I fell into games when I said yes to an opportunity that no one else wanted. And that opportunity in particular, people sort of fought against it. And I was really sort of intrigued by that, because what drew me to that role was a different type of student than I had ever seen before. I had worked at RIT for 7 years at that point, and I had never met a group of students who was more passionate about the things that they were making. And there was an eagerness to share that. This was a quirky group, and I just sort of fell in love with that vibe and that personality, and said, this is where I want to be. And all these years later, here we are. We're still doing it. They're still quirky. They're still super excited and passionate about the things that they're making, and that's just a really cool thing to want to be around and want to support and help students, land that job in the industry. It feels like an honor and a privilege to be able to do that.
Thank you. And Callie, thank you for that insight into your family dynamics. All right. I'm going to go over here and then over there. You had a question?
Hi, my name is Max from Long Island. You mentioned that you got into the games industry by taking an opportunity that others did not take. Could you tell us a little more about that opportunity?
Sure. So the role specifically was at a university. The program, CJ had asked the question earlier about, if there is not a major in games, how do you get involved? That's how the degree program at RIT started. It started first as a course, and then it became a concentration. And eventually, because of student demand that Callie mentioned, it became a major. That year was 2007. There were 30 students that year that were admitted into the program. Now the university is accepting over 200 students a year into that program. So I said yes to the opportunity to be an academic advisor. In the department, we existed in the Department of Information Technology at the time. And each academic advisor was responsible for learning and understanding the curriculum for 2 degree programs. I was brand new, so I didn't really care what they were. But what I observed in the room when the department chair said, who wants to do this, that people were really like dodging and evading, like hiding under the table and, trying to run out of the room. They're like, no, don't want it. And that was intriguing to me. I've always sort of seen myself as a risk taker, and wanted to do something new and different. So that was how it happened for me. But I think that opportunity exists for anybody. It's being brave. It's showing up to your first game jam and saying, I want to try something new. I want to push myself. This is something I'm really excited about. So it's saying yes to opportunities, even the ones that maybe scare you a little. I'm also a big fan, quite honestly, of saying no. I think saying no can also be really important and really powerful in the right circumstances. But if you're saying no because you're afraid, I would just encourage you just to be brave in that moment and push yourself. And if you don't have the ability to push yourself, find somebody who will push and encourage you.
Thank you.
Hello. So, out of curiosity, what patterns do you see among students who are successful and find work in the industry after graduating?
So one of the things that I like to give is my core piece of advice when students are applying or when I'm looking at resumes or they're asking for feedback on their LinkedIn is I love hearing about projects. That's again, kind of the inspiration for doing Wolfjam and giving you guys a space to do it, because I want to know why you're making the things you're doing and what gets you excited, because that helps me know way more about who you are and what you want to do with your career than a list of engines that you know and languages that you know and things like that. Projects are a really, the people that I have helped hire or I have talked to over the years are the ones that are able to tell me why they want to do this and like how they're looking to improve themselves. That's the biggest thing here at Wolfjaw Studios. One of the things that I always talk about is that we like curious people. We want people that ask questions. We don't want people that just accept things as they are. We want to know, how can we improve processes? How can we get things to be better? And that curiosity helps growth, that helps innovation. And that's what the game industry is always striving to do.
I think that's a great question and a great answer. What I would add to that, in particular, those projects, bonus points if those are out of class projects and experiences, whether it is at a game jam event, or maybe the semester ended and there was, a germ of an idea, something that you were really excited about that you just wanted to take further. Professors will ask you, you're asked to do things for a grade in a limited amount of time. The best way to demonstrate your passion and your enthusiasm is to do something different. At the end of the day, again, the languages, everybody's transcripts look pretty similar. This is an industry that a lot of people are trying to break into. The number of degree programs in this space across the country are growing. So how you make yourself stand out is by demonstrating that passion. I think that's really, really important. Involvement in the community is also important. I love it when, and it's funny, I just checked my email a little while ago. It's important, I think, for students in particular to find somebody to help and support them, whether it's a mentor, an advisor, a faculty member. If you're applying for jobs, I want to know about those things. So a student just emailed me and said, hey, I just applied for this job. I think you know some folks that work there. Can you help me, with that referral? So I always want to know about those opportunities so I can be a champion for you in that process and help perhaps cut through that stack of applications. With those projects, the other thing that I would mention with that too is finishing the project. I would rather see one finished small thing than 10 things that are big and huge and none of them are done. Finish one thing, do it well. You don't need 12 levels. You need one level that is complete. If you have the ability, and the barriers I think, are lowering, if you have the ability to publish it, bonus, but finish something and be able to speak to what you did, what were the challenges, what did you learn, what was your role, and that can be as a solo developer, that can be as a member of a team, but projects.
I think what you said about getting referrals and giving referrals to people, that kind of goes back to Erin's talk earlier about networking and how important that is. If you don't know who your advisor is and you're not talking to them, Jen's an advisor for someone and they just ignore her and ignore all the callers, she can't give them a referral. So
it's a missed opportunity. At the end of the day, if you're a college student, you're paying a lot of money to go to a university. So your advisor and those resources, those are included with the cost of tuition. So please use us.
anyone, okay, I'll go to you, and then you, and then you.
Hello, thanks for coming out. My name is Sarah. I'm a computer science student, but not a game dev student, and I'm curious about how some game elements are coming into a lot of other projects, and how that can sort of, like, what aspects could students study to do that well, so it's not just like experience points randomly and badges and stuff randomly stuck into an app, but actually brings in some of the interest and excitement of games into more everyday apps and training and stuff like that.
Yeah, so with game development, there is a lot of things that go unseen and unspoken about. Wolfjaw is a great example. We work on the back end of a lot of games that people don't realize that we work on, and we're working on systems that players don't even think about unless they're broken, and then you're like, why is this not working? Why can I not log into my game? And so doing deep dives into what actually makes some of these systems, like, okay, you have to log into an account. How do you want to have a reward-based system, and how is that going to be satisfactory for the player in a way that isn't predatory? One of the apps that I always get a kick out of with the way that they choose and have chosen to gamify their experience is Duolingo. They have done a very good job of being a little annoying, letting you know, like, hey, you gotta get your stuff done. Like, I'm gonna make a little Angry Bird face at you. But they do a very good job of giving you actionable, immediate feedback when you do interact with them. And sadly, a lot of us, our attention spans are non-existent at this point, so instant gratification is really important. And being able to kind of tie that into the apps or the programs that you're working with can be beneficial, but then also making sure that you aren't just only looking at that instant gratification, but what can you do to get someone to want to return and stay consistent. So it's not only, hey, let me do a daily check-in, let's do something that is weekly or do something monthly. One of the things I know that I've noticed in a lot of gotcha and mobile games recently that I know is a headache for a lot of players, I am a chronic mobile games player and have been for years, is the whole idea of like a 30-day check-in, and if you check in for 30 days straight, you're gonna get this whole thing. Most apps are moving away from making that consecutive. So I can check in on Monday, and then I can check in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that still counts in the same system. I don't feel demotivated because I've missed out on 3 days and now I don't get these super special rewards and I have to start all over because I was at day 27 and I messed it up. Finding new ways to then make sure that your players want to be engaged without shunning them away, I think is something that we're seeing a lot more often with consistency in how the reward systems and achievements and things like that. And Duolingo is another one that does it really tangibly well, of like, hey, you've hit 1,000 days and this is how many words you have learned. This is how many courses you have finished. Giving you that sense of accomplishment, I think, is really important as well.
We've got other questions too. I want to make sure that.
Hi, I'm William Coffey. I'm originally from Washingtonville, New York. Let's go Wizards. But I'm currently a student studying here at the University of Albany. Let's go Great Danes. Just from your own personal experience in the games industry, for somebody who is maybe thinking of starting up there, or like somebody who's starting but like doesn't know how to get there, what piece of advice would you give them to maybe, I don't know, give them a better chance of success?
I would kind of echo to what Jen had mentioned earlier about getting involved in local initiatives or communities that are going on. And this extends to both in person and online. I know one of the resources that a lot of people kind of only learn about and then they get super jumped into is the International Game Development Association. That is an international organization with chapters located all over the world. There is most likely one in your city. I know for a fact there is one here in Albany. And those type of orgs are really important for you to just get exposure. A lot of things with games is just getting out there, networking, talking to people, and places like the IGDA are awesome for that because they're doing things like game jams, like Global Game Jam and things like that. They're doing networking events and micro talks, and they're bringing out guest speakers. Like the Albany chapter most recently did a series of micro talks in October to just highlight a couple different people from different studios of, hey, talk about for 5 minutes what you think would be a really good topic. And I think just getting exposure to those things is really awesome. And then I also always love to point people to the GDC Vault talks. A lot of them are free on YouTube, and this is a really great way for you to kind of see what is happening at these larger events that these game devs are going to, and it kind of almost gives you like a benchmark to maybe reach of like, hey, I'm watching these talks, I'm getting to see the people that go out there. I want to be there someday, so let me watch their talks to understand how they got on the stage so that I can maybe be there someday too.
Yeah, I think I would add to that, just pick a place and just start. And then start setting some goals related to that. It's one thing to say, you know, I want to do this. Start taking actionable steps. Carve out time on your calendar. Again, whether it's watching, those YouTube talks that maybe your goal is I want to watch 2 of these a week, or I want to work on growing my LinkedIn profile or building out my portfolio. It's carving out the time, taking, actionable, measurable steps and doing it. When I was an advisor, I always told students, specifically who are looking for co-op roles or full-time jobs, that you need to devote as much time to that as you would another course. That doesn't mean that you do it all in one day or at the same time, but do you have an hour a day that you can put towards this? If you don't have an hour, do you have 30 minutes? Or, break down that time in a way that works for you and just start making progress and chart and track your progress. Because I think you would be surprised, a month in, how much time that you've already put into it and measure the results.
You could start your own JIRA. It's good practice for when you get into the industry.
Hello, my name is Nick. I am both a student and employee of RIT School of Interactive Games and Media. So you guys, after going over your backgrounds, both seem to be these sort of trailblazers in terms of the work that you've done to get certain things started at universities or organizations. So for somebody who has a similar passion for that kind of stuff, albeit frustrating sometimes to constantly be in that push and advocacy, do you recommend that somebody try and look for those types of opportunities when they graduate? Or do you recommend that somebody goes into the industry first if they can and maybe does something like that at a later time? Or is there maybe an in-between that you would recommend?
So how long should you wait before you start pushing against people and annoying them? Basically. I love you guys.
Well, as Jamie said in my intro, I am chaotic and good most of the time. And this has been a very common thread in my game development career. When I was doing the esports org, I became a very loud advocate of, hey, this is important. Look, we have students that are calling my personal cell phone asking if we're going to offer scholarships to come and do this kind of thing. And the biggest thing that I like to recommend is if you want to push on something like that, the biggest thing that is your ally is data. So if you're able to, and that's kind of like the nice way that you can start saying like, hey, I think this might be a good idea. I have 20 students over here that are interested in doing this. Can we have a conversation? So a lot of times it's when you're going into something new, whether it is you're going straight into the industry or you're kind of going off to the side and kind of entering later, having that information on your side and just saying, hey, I think this could be a really cool way that we can improve this. And I've been able to gather some data. This is kind of some trends that I've seen in the industry. The biggest thing is making sure you're not coming in and just flipping a table, because someone else might also be interested in wanting to support you and they just might not have spoken up yet. So a lot of times it's, again, just kind of asking around, asking that community what people are interested in doing. Wolfjam, for example, exists because of us getting feedback and of what we saw that people wanted to have in the capital region and have this type of stuff. Last year and this year, this is first time I've ever run a hackathon. I've run events for almost 10 years now, and I had never done this before, but I was like, hey, students want to do game jams and do this kind of stuff, I'll figure out how it works. And I think that's the biggest thing, is reading the room, seeing how receptive people are going to be to change, but having that data, being able to kind of back up your point of what you're looking to do will help you get a lot farther and help you have conversations with people a lot easier about change.
I think the point about data is a really good one, and also just it's the approach. If it's done, if it's grounded and rooted in respect, if you can find a way to make it a win-win, I think that will be even more appealing. Erin talked about this a little bit in her talk with networking and specifically, and Jamie too, reaching out to recruiters. I think very often it's very me-centric. So how can you, still get what you were looking for, what you want and need, but also find out a way that you can provide value and make it difficult for someone to say no. There's so much data there. What you've shared is so compelling, and you've convinced allies and supporters, make it hard for someone to say no. That would be my approach.
I know I made a joke about being annoying, like how long should you wait before you're annoyed? You start getting annoying to people. As somebody who's also been vocal about certain things in certain times, I think actually Kevin Trusky said this yesterday when he was talking about approaching everything with humility, and there's this a kind of a hubris that comes along with I'm coming in, I know what's right, we got to do what's right, but these people have been doing this for a certain amount of time. You have to respect what they're doing and manage to get that change going with humility and understanding and respect what we're saying. So it's all about how you do it. This guy needs no introduction, but you should introduce yourself.
I'm so nervous.
Hello, no. I'm Clark Foley. I work at Wolfjaw Studios, and I live in Troy, and I'm a W Albany graduate. I had a question. Mentioned a lot of your accolades before, both of you, but I had a question focused for Jen. So as we see in a lot of different universities, and you described in the progression of RIT, starting with a course or concentration to degrees, kind of expanding the things that the university offers in game development and the game industry. I was just wondering if you could kind of give a synopsis of like the origin story of Magic Spell Studios and kind of how you cross that bridge into getting into an actual game development, and as much as you're allowed to, maybe kind of how the university supports the game, like from the business side, and any suggestions you have for other universities that are looking to get into that model as well.
There was a lot in that question. I'm trying to break it. I'll try to break it down. So the origin story of Magic Spell Studios is, I think, really kind of an interesting one. So I'm glad you asked about that. When we talk about trying to identify champions and allies, the idea of Magic Spell Studios actually came from the president of the university. So I think we were pretty lucky that this was, in many ways, his dream, his inspiration. The president of the university at the time organized a festival called Imagine RIT. And the goal of Imagine RIT was to showcase all of the innovative things that were happening at the university, the things that we had the opportunity to see every day, but other people did not. So that festival invited everyone in from the community and would draw over 20,000 people a year to that festival. So in many ways, it was rooted in that. And he was an ally of games. We actually invited him to classes. We had the opportunity to really sort of show and tell him what we were doing. And he started asking some really good questions about, I see all the cool things that are happening here. How can we help others do this? And he understood the importance of publishing things. He understood that a university is probably not the right, entity to do that. Xbox does not want to talk with a university. So it was his idea to establish us as that entity and really be the publishing arm of the university, the business development, the operations, all of those things. So within our structure is the organization and the foundation to do those things. Magic exists outside of an academic department, so that gives us a lot of freedom and flexibility. We don't have a curriculum. Universities, programs of study, colleges, et cetera, are pretty focused on the curriculum and the delivery of that, and that does not always leave time or space to do those other things. So we were established as that, that other to do that, and to really kind of remove some of that red tape, specifically for students who are wanting to publish. What that meant for us, our slogan at Magic is "We learn by making things," and we really look at ourselves as a scrappy startup. When we started, we had absolutely no idea how to publish things, and many other things too. And we said, all right, so we're going to figure it out. And so many of the questions, Magic was founded in 2013. We moved into a new facility in 2018. to this day, even though we've existed for, since 2013, on an almost weekly basis, I will have a student or a faculty member who will come to me and say, can we do this, or how do I do this? And I look at them and say, I have absolutely no idea, but let's figure it out. And it's just doing that. But it was the president, Dr. Bill Dessler, who gave us the space and the encouragement, some funding, including from the state, to go out and try to do that. So thanks, Bill.
Was there a second part to your question? You were asking, I think, how other universities could get involved and create their own lessons learned.
Get yourself a good president, who will advocate for you. In all honesty, talk to each other. We have to share that information. I think game studios are actually probably very similar. I think sometimes people are very surprised that we see ourselves as a community and not competitors. I think the same approach to higher education, can be taken as well. It's just asking those questions. The way that we do things is not the way that, UAlbany is going to do things. Everyone has different, resources and skills. So just talk to each other.
Are there any other questions? We have time for a couple more, I think. All right, hold on.
Hi, my name's Aiden. I'm a student at UAlbany. I guess the answer to this question is going to vary on the studio and how big or small it is. But do you think the industry is really as competitive as people make it out to be? Because some people kind of put it in a discouraging way that if you're not the best out of 300 people, you don't have a shot. So I guess it depends, but do you know anything?
If you were to get 5 different game devs from 5 different companies and ask if we were competitors, we would say no, we're friends. I think a lot of the community really does just want to share and collaborate ideas. A lot of the competition is the news cycles, it is the articles, it is an outsider's perspective on what is happening. Just because 2 companies make a similar game doesn't mean that the devs hate each other. The devs on League of Legends don't despise the devs on Dota 2. Street Fighter doesn't hate Tekken. If anything, having those varieties are exciting because then we can go, hey, how did you guys end up doing that? That was really cool. We've been debating on trying to do this hair texture for a while, and you guys were able to pull it off. That's where events like GDC exist, and you really see that in person when you get a room full of developers together just geeking out over the rope mechanics in The Last of Us 2. That is what at the end of the day we are all just excited to talk about is how did you do that? I want to figure that out. So I would say a lot of times it's not really a focus on competition. It is how can we work and help each other. There are other factors that maybe contribute to why competition is more of the lens that people view the game industry as, but we all should just kind of be lifting each other up and working together because that, like I said earlier, that's how innovation and new games happen. And I think that's where we get the coolest games that we have coming out right now. Think about how many solo devs are putting out games right now. They're getting the opportunities, or small game teams that are being able to celebrate the way that you guys are here today. I imagine that some of you guys have already communicated as different teams of hey, you guys have Unity experience. Can you help us with this? Hey, I see that you guys are recording audio for your game. Can we get some assistance with that? So you guys are already experiencing the collaboration that does exist in the professional world. And I think with the whole collaboration, Magic Spell is a game studio and they are part of the community. Wolfjaw kind of deals with that as well. We're a back-end studio and we don't develop our own games, so we don't view ourselves as competition to anyone else. We are coming in and helping people because it's honestly what most of us want to do.
There are absolutely some bad actors, in the industry, but I think more and more there are heroes. I look at someone like Amir Satvat, just totally blanked. He is someone who I think a lot of people look at as the hero of the games industry right now. If you're not following him on LinkedIn and all of his other platforms, I think one of the things that I appreciate so much about what he is doing is he is trying to really lift up the community and I think model the way so that all of you who are coming into the industry come in knowing that this is the way, this is how this should be, this is how we should be working together, this is how we should be collaborating. The industry is very, very small. I think just the nature of projects and how they work, people don't necessarily work at the same place for extended periods of time. So people are moving around. And yeah, I think there certainly is, some competition, but it really is, I think, a community. And I think it's a community that people are really proud to be a part of. And that's why so many people, I think, are eager to be a part of it. But community first focus is 100% the way to go. If you are a bad actor, you will be called out for it. And it's nice to see that that is happening more and more. I think a lot of that went unchecked for a very long time. And again, for the folks who do recruiting in the room, Callie's peeping those profiles. And if you're leaving nasty comments and being a jerk online, you're not going to work at Wolfjaw because that's not how they roll. So just be a good human, help yourself, but help others as well.
On those same lines, recruiters are excellent private investigators. They will find the stuff. I'm just saying, personal experience, I will find the stuff. So, yeah. I mean, that's just a piece of advice, I think, is just be careful what you do and, be a good person.
I have helped a friend cyberstalk her panel for one of the studios that she was interviewing with and found out that the lead interviewer had gotten engaged via a Dungeons & Dragons game. And so I told her, hey, maybe if you wear something Dungeons & Dragons or bring it up in your interview, it'll help you with some camaraderie and getting along. And guess what? They got the job. So I see everything that is online.
We call it research, not stalking. Okay. Are there any other questions? Let me go check our Discord and everything to make sure. In the meantime, do you have any closing remarks you would like to make? Any last pieces of sage wisdom?
If you guys have any questions, find me with the Mickey ears. I am happy to talk about anything and all about working in games or being in games. I have been the player, I have been the community organizer, I have been the recruiter, I have been a little bit of everything. I have not been a coder unless you count changing your pictures on neopets.com. That's about it, so don't ask me for programming help. But we just want to share what we know. The biggest thing about your growth and how you can learn more is just by asking. So come and ask.
I don't have Mickey ears on, but I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have. I want to say thank you to Callie for not only organizing Wolfjam, but this panel. This is something we've been talking about doing for a long time. So really happy, really, really fantastic questions. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for everything.